According to the latest figures from Lebanese authorities, at least a dozen people were killed and nearly 3,000 wounded in yesterday's beeper explosion in the hands of Hezbollah operatives. Hezbollah is blaming Israel, but Jerusalem has no comment thus far. Details are beginning to emerge on how the attack was carried out. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
The numbers are still changing, but according to the latest from Lebanese sources, 9 people were killed and nearly 3,000 injured as a result of yesterday's vast wave of simultaneous beeper explosions in the hands of Hezbollah members. Hezbollah is blaming Israel for the attack, but there has been no confirmation from Jerusalem. Hospitals across Lebanon were overwhelmed by the unprecedented attacks and the severity of the injuries. 200 of the wounded are reported in critical condition. A number of beepers also exploded in Syria, killing 7. The pagers that exploded were apparently acquired by Hezbollah after terror chief Hassan Nasrallah ordered members in February to stop using cell phones, warning that they could be tracked by Israeli intelligence.
So, it's somewhat surprising that Hezbollah would rely on pagers, knowing that Israel has a history going back decades of being able to detonate electronic devices. Ironically, there were reports in the media not that long ago that Hezbollah essentially broadcast to the world that they were downgrading from cell phones to pagers in order to prevent Israeli intelligence from tracking people using the GPS capabilities.
Experts say the beeper explosions point to a sophisticated, long-planned operation likely carried out by infiltrating the supply line and rigging the pagers with explosives before they were imported to Lebanon.
If this was Israel, which presumably it was, it should not be surprising that they have the capability to carry something like this out. The bigger question would be, how did they manage to booby trap all of these pagers?
Reports from Sky News say Mossad agents likely got hold of the devices before they were handed over to Hezbollah and placed a quantity of petin, a highly explosive material, on the batteries of the device and detonated them by raising the temperature of the batteries remotely. The pagers were apparently manufactured in Taiwan. The company Gold Apollo said the pagers were made by a company called BAC, which has a license to use its brand name.
我新加坡来讲的话，在过去3年的部分，有跟 BAC 这个公司建立长期的贴牌的一些授权，它区域有代理合作的关系，也有合作协议的关系，所以基本上来讲的话。
A day after the attack, Hezbollah has acknowledged significant losses. The question is how the attack will impact the Lebanese terrorists moving forward.
Following the mass beeper attack, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi held a security assessment with the expectation that Hezbollah would try to retaliate, and there's growing speculation that war in the north is more likely than at any time since October 7th. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Hezbollah is threatening retaliation for the mass casualty beeper attack in Lebanon, and the IDF is already at full readiness. Intelligence is trying to assess the amount of damage caused to Hezbollah.
This kind of operation was never seen in the region, that from afar there is actually an operational achievement to damage 3,000 hands that can pull the trigger and press the button of launching rockets to over here towards Israel. It is definitely an intelligence infiltration that is overwhelming capability. But I think the greatest achievement here is the confusion that it created among Hezbollah, the psychological damage among Hezbollah, and the fact that somebody can cause that much of a damage without even invading into Lebanon.
The attack will not likely impact Hezbollah's ability to strike.
Hezbollah promised revenge. I believe it will retaliate. I don't know exactly when. I think they are now discussing of how and when.
Senior defense officials say that right now is the closest Israel has been to a full-scale war with Hezbollah since October 7th. Sources say that the long-considered major IDF land operation in Lebanon could be very close indeed. Earlier this week, Defense Minister Gallant told the visiting U.S. envoy that time for a diplomatic solution with Hezbollah is running out. Security officials say that until now, the main reason not to enter into war with Hezbollah was to avoid weakening the IDF efforts to destroy Hezbollah's remaining battalions in Gaza. With the last battalions now defeated in Rafah, the army says it's free to turn its attention to the north.
There is an Israeli government decision from yesterday that part of the goals of this war is to bring the 60,000 Israelis that were evacuated at the beginning of the war back home. And in order to do it, what is needed is the disarmament of Hezbollah in South Lebanon. We understand after 11 months of fighting that it's probably not going to happen in a diplomatic arrangement.
And here to speak to us about this large-scale attack is Ilan Eviatar, author and former Jerusalem Post and Jerusalem Report editor. Thank you so much for joining.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Ilan, in your opinion, assuming it was indeed Israel behind this attack, and this has not been confirmed just yet, what might be the strategic goals behind such an attack? Was it mainly to regain deterrence?
Well, it might have been to send a message to Hezbollah, look what we're capable of doing. You'd better reach an arrangement with us that makes you under which you'll pull back to the Litani River away from the Israeli border. Otherwise, we'll have to hit you again, and we may have to hit you with an all-out war.
Now, do you believe that Hezbollah is deterred following such an attack? Could be deterred?
Well, I think that's something we'll have to wait and see. So far, we haven't seen any major response, any major shelling or rocket fire like we have on previous occasions. I don't think Hezbollah wants an all-out war. So again, we may see a situation whereby Hezbollah looks for some kind of response that doesn't take us through to all-out war. But we'll obviously have to wait and see, what the outcome of all this is.
What are the possible repercussions of such a large-scale attack on Hezbollah's operations and communication channels? Do you believe this could significantly impact their capabilities?
Well, sure. I mean, I think we don't know yet exactly what happened and how many people have been injured, but according to reports, it runs into the thousands, with a few hundred severely injured and some killed. And according to a report I saw earlier, also several dead among the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in Syria. So yes, this would damage their capabilities, damage their command capabilities, their communications. So yes, this is a serious blow to Hezbollah, and it's not exactly the right time for them now to be looking at all-out war against Israel, because they'll be at a severe disadvantage.
How sophisticated is this operation? What do you think that this shows about Israel's capabilities?
Well, it's hugely sophisticated, hugely imaginative and creative. We don't know how this was done, but the assumption is that somewhere along the line, Israel poisoned the supply chain for these pagers and managed to, or Israel or whoever pulled off this attack, be it Israel or Liechtenstein or Sweden or whoever, but they managed to poison the supply chain and add a very small amount of plastic explosives to the inside of the pager.
So we're still looking to sort through all of the details that are emerging as the hours and days go by. Considering the scale of this attack, what kind of escalation or retaliation do you foresee from Hezbollah or its allies? What are the possibilities?
Well, I think, like we said, Hezbollah, huge blow. Hezbollah will have to return in some kind of force, but the question is, what exactly will they do? Will they go for a similar kind of operation where they target a high-level Israeli? We saw the Shin Bet released today details of how last year the Hezbollah tried to hit former Israeli Chief of Staff Moshe Bogi Ya'alon, and there was apparently another similar attempt earlier this month or last month. And we'll have to see, what they opt to do in response.
Do you personally believe that this was likely a Mossad operation? Does it check the boxes of how they would or could operate?
Well, it certainly checks the boxes of a very sophisticated and imaginative intelligence agency, and there are very few intelligence agencies in the world probably capable of pulling off such an operation, and there are probably, of those, there are fewer that would have the motivations to hit Hezbollah in this way.
Anthony Blinken has said they were not aware of such an attack. Do you believe that there are any allies that could have possibly joined forces on this attack?
I doubt that anyone would have joined forces. If Israel is the power behind this, I doubt anyone would have joined forces with them, and that Israel would have asked anybody to join forces with them.
Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Israelis are divided over the pager blasts in Lebanon on Tuesday. While some celebrated, others voiced concerns about a possible retaliation and the growing tensions. ILTV's Ariel Alahiani has more.
Hezbollah has vowed revenge after accusing Israel of detonating pagers in Lebanon on Tuesday. The blast killed at least 8 people and injured over 2,700, including Hezbollah fighters and Iran's ambassador to Beirut.
To hit the Iran ambassador in Lebanon, I think they won't forgive us.
Many have expressed concern that escalations in the north could only hinder the safe return of the hostages.
If this step will create war and escalation, it will only further the returning of the hostages home. And that's what we need to do. We need to return the hostages home right now.
Israel's military, engaged in cross-border skirmishes with Hezbollah since the war in Gaza broke out last year, has refused to comment on the detonations when questioned by Reuters. A Hezbollah official called this attack the biggest security breach the group has faced in the ongoing conflict with Israel.
It's about time they will pay for what they've done and what they are doing to us in the northern border. I hope they will continue, because it's our brains against their muscles, and I think our brains will win.
Meanwhile, an Israeli military spokesman confirmed that Chief of Staff Major General Herzi Halevi held a security meeting urging continued vigilance, but did not announce any change in policy.
Day 348 of the war in Gaza, the IDF has announced the names of 4 soldiers killed while fighting in Rafah in southern Gaza. Their names are Captain Daniel Toaf, 23, a deputy company commander in the Givati Brigade from Moreshet, Staff Sergeant Amit Bakri, 21, of the Givati Brigades from Yoshivia, Staff Sergeant Dotan Shimon, 21, of the Givati Brigade from Elazar, and Staff Sergeant Agam Naim, 20, a paramedic from Mishmarot. Naim is the first female soldier to be killed during the IDF's ground offensive against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. In the same incident, an officer and 2 soldiers in the Shaked battalion were seriously wounded, and 2 others were moderately injured. Their deaths bring Israel's toll on the ground offensive against Hamas in Gaza and in military operations along the border with the Strip to 348. May they all be of blessed memory. And even as the war continues throughout Israel, students are returning to their schools and universities. Today, we're going to meet a young woman who served as a lone soldier in the artillery corps and then went on to receive an undergraduate degree in visual communications and then her global MBA, both from Reichman University. But first, let's watch this short video.
On October 1st, Liron Zur, a former lone soldier and global MBA alumni from Reichman University, embarked on a marketing mission to the United States. As the director of marketing for the Rafael Rekanati International School, she visited public schools, college fairs, youth movements, and Jewish communities in Florida and New Jersey to promote studying in Israel. Then came October 7th. Despite the war, Liron attended all of the scheduled events, although it was one of the hardest tasks she'd ever faced, convincing people to study in Israel amidst terrorism and chaos. Yet, she persisted, driven by her sense of duty. Today, over 8,000 students attend Reichman University, including a significant number of international students at the Rafael Rekanati International School. These students hail from more than 90 countries. Many, like Zur, are former lone soldiers who have chosen to remain in Israel to study. Liron, who graduated with her GMBA last year, reflected in her graduation speech, quote, "Reichman University offers a respectful, anti-Semitism-free environment, fostering a Zionist spirit and admiration for Israel. We are blessed that we got to study here."
And now we have here with us in studio Liron Tzur herself. Liron, thank you so much for joining us. You have quite a life journey. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So I was born in Israel, and when I was 12, I moved with my family to Tenafly, New Jersey, where I attended high school and middle school. And, you know, as growing up in a very Zionist family, it was clear to me that following my high school experience, I'll come back to Israel and draft the IDF, in which I did, and I was in the artillery corps, which was a great experience. And following my army service, I knew I want to stay in Israel, but study in an international environment, and Reichman University was the best solution for me.
Now, you completed your GMBA at the Arison School of Business. How did the curriculum enhance your work as Director of Marketing for the Rafael Recanati International School?
So the GMBA at Reichman University is for executives and future managers who want to expand their, I'd say, global perspective and business management knowledge. And I believe that the tools and skills I received from this degree helped me implement all the stuff I could for the marketing in the global areas, in which caused an increase of 37% in the registration for MBA programs at the university.
Now, beyond academics, what did this program provide you with, socially speaking and emotionally speaking?
Okay, good question. Okay, so socially, first of all, we have 2,500 students coming from 90 countries. So obviously, the networking is great. Another great thing about this is that I come from the marketing and events field, and you know, in class we have students coming from a lot of other fields, such as, you know, we have lawyers and analysts and psychologists. So together in class, mentality and discussions are much more interesting. So that's socially. Emotionally, I'd say that we learn a lot about things that Israel is leading at, whether it's, you know, Startup Nation and the water technology and the food tech industry. And it makes us all feel very connected to Israel. No matter where you come from, no matter who you are, you feel connected. And I think that's what it felt like emotionally.
I think studying in Israel is always a big decision, especially during a crisis. You know, the past year has been so difficult and challenging. What would you say to those who are hesitant to come?
I would say that, first of all, Reichman University is a safe place to study. It's peacefully and respectfully for all people coming. We're feeling, since October 7th, the wave of anti-Semitism, even at some of the most, you know, the biggest academic institutions. So, first of all, coming here to Reichman University would be a good option. Now, specifically to Israel, I want to remind everyone that Israel is home for 9.5 million people. We have a beautiful country full of amazing people, beautiful places. We have the best parties, delicious food, and I think this crisis, I'm sure that this crisis will make us stronger as a nation, and I really hope more and more people come to Israel.
Powerful words, Liron. Thank you very much. And remember that you can scan the QR code on your screen now to learn more about studying at Reichman University. The United Nations General Assembly will vote today on a controversial Palestinian resolution demanding Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, Judea and Samaria within a year. More from ILTV's editor, Mayan Hoffman.
The United Nations General Assembly is set to vote today on a Palestinian resolution demanding that Israel withdraw its forces from Gaza, Judea and Samaria within a year and evacuate all residents. The resolution also calls for the end of what it describes as Israel's quote-unquote unlawful presence in these areas. This vote comes as Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza nears its first anniversary, with violence escalating in Judea and Samaria. The conflict began following Hamas attacks in southern Israel on October 7th. Israel had completely withdrawn from Gaza in 2005. Yesterday, the United Nations debated the resolution, which is heavily based on an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice, declaring Israel's control of territories captured in the 1967 Six-Day War to be illegal. Israel and the United States strongly opposed the resolution, with Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, labeling it diplomatic terrorism. Danon argued that the Palestinian Authority is using diplomacy not to build bridges, but to dismantle them, and condemned what he called an ongoing obsession with Israel.
There has been no condemnation, no resolutions. Instead, we gather here to watch the Palestinians' UN circus. A circus where evil is righteous, war is peace, murder is justified, and terror is applauded. Those who contribute to this circus are not simply bystanders. You are participants, enablers, collaborators. Every vote you cast in support of this circus fuels the violence and emboldens those who reject peace. Jewish blood is not cheap. The days when it could be spilled without consequence are over.
And our ILTV's Mayan Hoffman is in Jerusalem today reporting about a new poll that for the first time since the start of the war finds that Gazans are starting to believe attacking Israel on October 7th may have been wrong.
A new poll by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research has revealed that for the first time, the majority of Gazans believe that Hamas's decision to perpetrate an attack against Israel on October 7th was wrong. The poll, taken in the beginning of September, found that 57% of Gazans think that Hamas should not have entered Israel and murdered Israelis. That's opposed to the 39% who still believe that it is justified. Back in June, 57% of Gazan civilians believed that the attack was justified. Unfortunately, in the West Bank, we still see that the majority of civilians believe in the Hamas attack. 64% reported that it was a justified perpetration. However, the survey also revealed some other interesting information. For example, for the first time, Hamas is losing popularity, and the Palestinian Authority looks like a more viable opportunity for after the war. In addition, many civilians are reporting they're more inclined to a two-state solution as opposed to using violence to get what they want against Israelis. This new poll comes after nearly 12 months of us fighting in Gaza against the Hamas terror organization. Israel has been forced to kill tens of thousands of Palestinians, the majority of them terrorists, and flatten the Gaza enclave as it continues to look for its hostages and build security on the southern border.
And as tensions with Hezbollah appear to be escalating, airlines have yet again halted flights to and from Israel. ILTV's Ariella Lahiani is at Ben Gurion Airport now with more.
Yes, thank you, Sivan. So following yesterday's news that thousands of Hezbollah pages began to explode across Lebanon, many concerns have been raised that tensions in the region are escalating. And as a result, many airlines, including Air France and Lufthansa Group, have stated they have cancelled flights to and from Tel Aviv. Now, many airlines in recent weeks finally have resumed flights to and from Israel after a long suspension period amid the ongoing war, such as British Airways and Wizz Air. However, many more airlines, which are expected to resume their flights to and from Israel in October, have stated that they are expanding their suspension period, including EasyJet and American Airlines, who have stated they won't be resuming flights to Israel until March or April next year.
Thank you, Ariella.
Sagot Winery, where passion meets tradition. Nestled in the heart of Binyamin, our vineyards yield exquisite wines crafted with generations of expertise.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight around the country as temperatures should reach lows of around 20 degrees Celsius or 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, partly cloudy skies and warm weather are expected as temperatures should climb and reach highs of 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Sivan Raviv. Be well, be safe, and thank you so much for watching.